throughout the nation and around the globe. From his heart to yours, it's Dear James Live, bringing you intuitive insight, answers, and advice to your life questions.
Hello, beautiful soul family, and welcome to Weekly Wisdom and Insights, your home for spiritually guided transformation and empowerment. I am your host, Dearjames, and together with the unseen, Spirit, Source, and Symphony, we look at the current energies, the intuitive wisdom and insights, and we go as guided. And we have some beautiful energies. We are in a lot of squares, astrological squares, that are releasing pent-up energies. So we have Venus conjunct Jupiter, squaring Eris, that just occurred yesterday on the 9th of June, playing out. We have the upcoming Uranus squaring the lunar nodes. That's going to be exact on the 12th, and it has got a pre and a post shadow, if you will. And also on the 9th of June, we have Mercury squaring Saturn. So a lot of square energy, meaning frictional aspects in astrology that are being released. It's tension that's being released. Welcome, Kiki. So let's take a look at our main energies. June is a 6th month, so it's about the conflict, letting go. It's the 10th, so it's a 1. It's treading, cautious advance. Culminates, we have a 1 year, which is a 10/1, so it's the creative, initiate. It all becomes a 17, follow, be led, go as guided. And the 1 and the 7 become an 8, uniting, unite. So because all of these energies, as we work through all of this in Weekly Wisdom and Insights, it's the unseen giving us wisdom, welcome calling. It's giving us wisdom so that we know how to navigate, how we recalibrate, how we come back to our true north. And that true north is our soul source connection. So as we look at Venus and Jupiter conjunct together in Cancer, it's the sign that Jupiter is exalted in. And they are both the lesser and the greater benefic. So these lucky, Venus is about beauty and money and purity and so forth. And Jupiter is about expansion and luck and all of this great positive energy coming together. Squaring Eris. She's the goddess of discord. So she's bringing up what's been hidden or, what's been oppressed, suppressed. So as we move into that, let's just take a quick look at the astrological chart for Venus conjunct Jupiter squaring Eris, and at the same time, Mercury squaring Saturn. And when I looked at the chart this week, 2 things came out. I instantly heard the contradiction between worlds. So we have the contradiction between worlds, and then the main theme, which is the freedom to be. Only the lonely can play. Welcome, Alicia. So let's unpack all of this because there's so much here. So, and we're going to go with the contradiction between worlds. And so a contradiction is a situation, a statement, or an idea where 2 or more things are directly opposed, inconsistent, or cannot both be true at the same time. It highlights a fundamental clash between facts, claims, or actions. What the unseen is speaking about is the 2 worlds, the one we're leaving, the one we're entering. This Piscean patriarchal era, the Aquarian matriarchal era. The I of the ego, the we of the soul. These contradictions. The contradiction between worlds generally refers to the tension, paradox, or clash that arises when distinct realms, systems, or realities collide. There is a colliding of realities here in the sense that where we've been and where we're going are 2 distinctly different worlds. We keep talking about how the Aquarian matriarchal, we the people era is a complete inversion of the Piscean patriarchal era of where we've been. It's what we do from a soul perspective, from the soul leading, and how through following that, putting it out into the world, the masses receive it, then in reciprocity, it's coming back to us. And that's a complete inversion of where we've been. From a societal and cultural place, the disconnect between different cultural or ideological spheres, such as the friction between traditional values and rapid modernization, or the division between marginalized communities and the privileged elite. So we're seeing this. We're seeing the new clashing against the old. The marginalized clashing against the privileged. Because we're rewriting the narrative. It's the Etch-a-Sketch. We're cleaning the slate. We're purifying it, cleaning it to move forward. So the contradiction between worlds speaks to the spiritual tension of living as a soul tethered to a physical body, while trying to align with a higher divine reality. It asks you to hold the paradox of the material world and the unseen realm without rushing to simplify them. It's about merging them. And in this instance, the soul, the unseen realm, taking the fore, leading. It's a complete inversion of where we've been. It's not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, the material world. It's inverting it, integrating it, putting it into service for a higher good, a greater purpose, so that we all, a tide lifts all boats, so that we all rise, and through that group rising, if you will, the individual receives. It's about spirit versus matter, the foundational paradox that our inner spiritual truth often operates in direct opposition to our outer ego-driven and physically grounded existence. It's a sign of contradiction. It's rooted in ancient mysticism and famously referenced in Christian theology. This refers to the calling to live a life governed by love, radical forgiveness, and truth, which intrinsically clashes with the selfishness and materialism of the surrounding world. So the selfless versus the selfish, and how when we are selfless in pursuing a greater good, for the good of all, it again comes back to us. And it's also the illusion of duality. Many contemplative traditions teach that attempting to view the seen and unseen realms as entirely separate creates suffering, because they're one. They're one in the same. Just two different versions, two different vehicles, two different ways by which we exist, co-create, manifest. We've spent 2,000 plus years allowing the ego, the I, to lead, and the soul, the unseen, taking the back seat, the sidecar. Now we're inverting them. And so it can talk about and create suffering. Instead, the contradiction serves as an invitation to embrace both the physical and the spiritual as an intertwined mystery. Rather than numbing this tension or forcing a resolution, spirituality invites you to use this conflict as a catalyst for deeper awakening. It is an opportunity to look at where you might be settling for less and to align yourself with a higher internal truth. We're all facing this higher internal truth about where we've been, the choices we've made, and what's before us, this higher octave, this opportunity to upreach, up-level. And it's a game changer. We have to be the choices that we have to be willing to say yes, to let go of the past, to receive the present future. And then we're looking at our main themes again. The freedom to be, only the lonely can play. The lyrics to that song started playing in my head. And then, as you can see in the image, there are 3 unicorns, this unicorn medicine. So let's take a look here at the freedom to be. The spiritual meaning of the freedom to be is the state of inner sovereignty. It is the realization that your true essence is already whole and unconditioned. This profound liberation allows you to exist authentically without seeking external validation, releasing you from the exhausting constraints of ego, past traumas, and societal expectations. This is going back to what's at your center. That's the only thing that matters. The shoulda, woulda, couldas, the we want you, or I'm afraid they won't like, and all of that stuff is background noise. It's chatter. It's ego. When we release all of that, these exhausting constraints of the ego and past traumas, societal expectations, there's a recognition of this, of your purity, of your unconditioned unity and wholeness, oneness. It's our key word, oneness. We're coming up to that. So ego transcendence, moving past the inner prison of self-concept. Instead of letting fear, anxiety, or the need to control dictate your life, you observe your thoughts without being trapped by them. It's about, again, allowing your life experiences to refine you, not define you, and how, often we're in a prison of our own making. It's in our head. It's the ego telling us something. When we sit quietly with our soul source connection, the unseen, there is no prison. We're whole and complete and sovereign. It's about authenticity, living as the real you, rather than a mask built to appease others. It is the liberty to embrace your unconditioned nature, who you are at your center, and live without rigid formulas or dogmas. It's about wholeness and peace, experiencing a sense of complete well-being that doesn't rely on outside circumstances. It is shedding the weight of guilt, shame, and past wounds so you can thrive in the present moment. Living by principle, aligning your life with a higher internal truth or divine consciousness rather than adapting to what others think. If you're living your life for others and what others think or approval of others, it's going to be very tiresome because it will never satiate. It will never rise to the occasion. You and the others will always be disappointed. It will be short-lived. When you live from your authenticity, from your authentic soul self, whether others appreciate it or not, like it or not, there is a confidence and a foundational structure. You sit more confidently within yourself. You come to love yourself. The freedom to be. Only the lonely can play. We're coming to that. So it's about exploring this state brings you into profound alignment with yourself and the universe, the unseen, ultimately allowing you to give and receive love without limits. The concept can be explored throughout different traditions and spiritual lenses. From a theological liberty, one often described as being freed from spiritual oppression, guilt, and the burdens of past failures. There are no failures. There's just choices and experiences to walk in wholeness. And metaphysical understanding. It's gained through meditation, inner stillness, and communion with the divine, which results in liberation from worldly limitations. It's the freedom to be. So Venus conjunct Jupiter, squaring Eris. This freedom to be liberated from the shoulda, woulda, couldas, from the false identities, the masks, the labels, the scripts, the stories. It's to stand in our purity, our divinity, to recognize that your soul crafted your experience exquisitely, perfectly, divinely, everything purposeful. And when we shift our perspective and we live our lives from this place of sovereignty and wholeness and divine perfection, unity, it changes everything. Because we're not worried about what other people think or whether they're going to love us or accept us or reject us. It is what it is. When you let go of that, it's liberating beyond measure. And so we have the freedom to be. Now only the lonely can play. So Only the Lonely Can Play is a famous lyric from the 1982 New Wave classic by the Motels. While originally written about the pain of empty success and forced pretense, it spiritually represents the courage to face deep alienation, radical authenticity, and the transformation of inner solitude into a state of spiritual freedom, liberation. It's about embracing the truth of isolation, Because when we do this work, when you shift from the ego, the I, to the soul, and where it's leading you and up-leveling, it makes it's not for the faint of heart, number one, but number two, it makes other people uncomfortable. They know what they know. They like what they like. Humans are like this, right? They're creatures of habit, and they don't like change. And so they don't want others to change. And yet they're also in envy and awe of it because, well, who are you to do this? What makes you so special that you would go out and change, up-level, up-reach, expand, let go of the past, the lack, the limitation, and actually receive this kind of wholeness and sovereignty and happiness, joy? And so it triggers people. So it's embracing the truth of isolation. The phrase suggests that true spiritual depth requires stripping away the illusions of the ego. It is only when you are completely honest about your separation, fears, and aloneness that you can truly, quote, play or freely navigate. Shirley MacLaine, she has this saying, it's all in the playing. So this is about that you can truly play or freely navigate the spiritual game of life without pretending, without pretense. It's about the paradox of empty success. Songwriter Martha Davis originally wrote the song while experiencing massive critical acclaim, yet she felt inwardly devastatingly empty. Spiritually, it serves as a reminder the worldly validation cannot cure the soul's void. That deep isolation is often the catalyst we need to connect with our true, authentic selves. So this is, again, saying that all of the material items, possessions, masks, identities, labels, belongings, titles, all of this stuff will never do the trick. Other people's approval, validation, it will never be enough. The only thing that's enough is coming into unity, oneness with your soul, source, self, who you truly are at your center. Connect with that, align with that, amplify and magnify that. There will be those that fall away, and there will be those that come. Because all of a sudden you're up-leveling, you're coming to such a rich, authentic place within yourself that energy, that resonance draws. Like attracts like, right? That beautiful magnetism that comes. And then you find yourself surrounded with people, places, things that vibrate, hum at that octave. It's a connection in disguise. While loneliness can feel like a heavy burden, it is fundamentally an invitation to drop the masks we wear in large crowds. Those who master the art of being spiritually alone on their own, welcome Sue, learn to connect with a deeper sense of universal oneness. Some contextual meanings for only the lonely can play. The artist perspective. So Martha Davis penned the hit on a guitar gifted by her late father, channeling a bittersweet mix of grief, romance, and alienation. In interviews, she noted that the lyric ultimately reflects a longing for a place of ultimate comfort, truth, and nurturing, a feeling of returning home. Weekly wisdom and insights, spiritually guided transformation and empowerment is about you, all of us, coming home, nurturing that. And that home, everywhere you go, there you are. That home is your soul self, your soul source connection. It's not the external material things. It's that coming home to self. It often offers a message of solidarity, pointing out that the facade of perfection is tiring, and that genuine healing only begins when we accept our vulnerable human state. It's through humility. It's through surrender to the soul source connection. It's allowing the ego. We're not killing the ego. We're not harming the ego. We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. We need a healthy, positive, and want a healthy, positive ego. In service to, in service with the creative force. How we then go out and manifest what our soul came to do, to experience. That is a game changer. Number one from the unseen. What happens when all of your dreams come true? Then what? What's on the other side of where you are, who you are, and where you've been? And you'll see this. It's hexagram 64, nearing completion. And you see this beautiful image. This is of Niagara Falls spilling over, and you have obviously the beautiful falls. And what you realize in this image is that here it's like it's dropping off, right? It's spilling, the falls are spilling over. And yet it immediately falls into yet another journey, another body, an ending and a beginning, an eternal cycle, a completion, and again, a renewal. And so hexagram 64 is nearing completion. The situation is incomplete, but the chaos of the past is giving way to order. The goal is in sight. The new that is before us, that's being constructed, is in sight. Nevertheless, you are still treading on thin ice. We're still in that place where we're migrating through. Though the way ahead is unobstructed and the goal is clear, it's upreaching, up-leveling, expanding, a higher octave. A cautious and careful attitude is still important lest you slip and fall. We don't want to go back. We want to move forward. Nearing completion is the last hexagram of the I Ching. It suggests that the ever-spinning wheel of life never reaches a final conclusion. Just as sudden sadness resides in the heart of true euphoria, and just as seeds of amazing achievement can sprout from a cauldron of adversity, no end is ever really complete without a new beginning stirring inside of it. So in the ending is the beginning is the ending. They're one and the same, and it's a continual evolution. It's energy. Energy can't be killed, it can only be transmuted. And this is hexagram 64 from tarot.com. The Tao's 64-spoked timeless wheel of change is ready to spin onward, ever evolving, ever staying the same. The situation represented by this reading can be compared to taking a lengthy trek over a high mountain. At some point before reaching the peak, you can see in detail exactly how much farther you have to travel. You will have a good idea of what it will take to reach the top, because of the climbing experience you've accumulated thus far. However, when you do reach the peak, which has been in sight for quite a long period of sustained effort, you will have done only that. You will have reached the top and achieved your initial goal. But you still must descend the other side. This last critical segment is what remains before completion. What happens when all of your dreams come true? Then what? What's on the other side of where you are, who you are, and where you've been? Consider, too, the possibility that you have little information and no experience of what it's like descending the other side of the mountain, because all your attention has been focused on the path going up. We have been focused on climbing this mountain, attaining individual goals, collective goals, cosmic goals. We have no idea what it's like to stand yet at the peak, let alone what's on the other side. We've never been there before. We don't know. What we do know is that humanity, the whole of the whole, the cosmos, has been building to this point, this moment, this focused on the path going up. The coming situation may seem very strange to you, unlike anything that you have experienced before. However, the other side of the mountain is where the true mysteries reside. Proceed carefully, cautiously, and alertly, and you will arrive honorably at the completion of your goal. Do not leave your future to chance. Good fortune comes from having clarity about what you truly want in life. Tap into the issues that are keeping you from getting what you desire. So we have this beautiful, nearing completion, and it's the last piece of the I Ching. It's the last hexagram. And what that is saying to us is, it's nearing completion. The one before it, hexagram 63, is completion. So you would think 64 is completion, but it's not. It's nearing completion, meaning the wheel's turning. We're getting ready to begin again, renew ourselves again, up level, and thereby it delivers us to this new octave of being. Kiki is saying, I'm past my physical peak and trying to enjoy the downhill. And yet, it doesn't matter our age and physicality. The spirit, which you'll see here, it's about the fire of the spirit. The spirit, no matter the age, no matter the circumstance, can be the greatest fire that ignites, that completely changes our perspective of the downhill, as Kiki is saying, that what's on the other side. Number 2 from the unseen. On the other side of the rainbow, bluebirds fly. So on the other side of the rainbow, bluebirds fly. Spiritually, a flying bluebird symbolizes joy, hope, and new beginnings. Because bluebirds soar high into the heavens, they are often viewed as messengers of peace, bringing reassurance and a sign that positive changes or good opportunities are on the horizon. Spotting a bluebird in flight carries several specific spiritual interpretations. They are harbingers of happiness, often referred to in folklore as the universal symbol of the bluebird of happiness. Seeing one flying is an uplifting nudge to embrace positivity, release worries, and find joy in the little things. It's about divine messages. Many traditions and spiritual beliefs consider these birds to be messengers from the heavens, or from your angel spirits, your angel guides, encouraging you to trust your intuition and your path. It's about your knowing. Spiritual awakening. The bright blue hue is linked to the sky and higher states of awareness, making a bluebird sighting a symbol of spiritual growth and metamorphosis. We've had that word many a times in the Weekly Wisdom and Insights, metamorphosis, a complete change. And then it's about comfort and reassurance. Many find that a bluebird crossing their path represents a spiritual sign from the departed, our loved ones, or the discarnate, reminding them that the love and peace still endures. Understanding the meaning behind a bluebird's appearance can greatly aid in personal spiritual development. So it's to be aware of how the unseen communicates with us. We communicate like we're doing right now, with one another, audibly and so forth. The unseen speaks in a different language, yet an understood language. So it can be birds representing spirit, butterflies, nature, clouds, synchronicity, symbols, numbers. There's so many ways. Sense, smells, a knowing all at once. So it's to be open to this because it is about the freedom to be. Only the lonely can play. Let's go to unicorn medicine. So with the unicorn, spiritually, the unicorn symbolizes purity, healing, and divine insight. Its single spiral horn represents spiritual awakening, acting as a conduit to higher realms. It is an emblem of miracles, untamable freedom, and the power of imagination. The unicorn represents an uncorrupted soul. There we are again, an uncorrupted soul and untouched potential. It invites you to approach life with an open, honest, and loving heart. The horn growing from the forehead aligns with the crown chakra and the third eye, symbolizing ultimate divine insight, wisdom, and inner truth. It's our, as I call it, our God positioning satellite, the unseen, our divine connection. Historically thought to neutralize poison, the unicorn is a powerful spiritual healer. Its appearance often signals a period of emotional recovery and spiritual rebirth. We are going through some rough stuff. So this, the unicorn medicine showing up at this time is to remind us of the magic, the awe, the wonder, the healing, the possibilities, that period of emotional recovery and spiritual rebirth. Wild and free, the unicorn encourages you to celebrate your individuality. It reminds you to break free from the limiting expectations of others. See how intricately interwoven this is from the unseen. This is about breakthrough, breaking free, returning to your soul source, connection, authenticity, purity, wholeness, sovereignty, oneness. And in doing so, manifesting and magic. The unicorn represents infinite potential. It encourages you to believe in your dreams and harness the power of your intentions to bring magic into the mundane. And I'm just bringing up the image again of the freedom to be, only the lonely can play, and the beauty of these beautiful white, pure unicorns. Because it's bringing about this opportunity for us to remember our innate divinity, our innate ability to manifest and create magic. And how when we do that on the behalf of the whole, in service to the whole, it's already coming back to us individually. We put it out collectively, it comes back universally, it comes back to us individually. And it's an inversion of where we've been. Number 3 from the unseen, knowing me is knowing you. And it's our key word, oneness. And so if I can find it, I will bring, there we are. Da, 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 da. There's an image of the chakras, how they're connected to the divine. They are the divine. And so our key word of oneness. Oneness is the state of being undivided, whole, and deeply connected. It describes a profound sense of unity where separate elements, whether individuals, communities, or aspects of nature, are perceived as a single harmonious whole. The concept of oneness is broad and can be understood across several dimensions. So, spiritual and philosophical, often referred to as a divine oneness, this is the belief that all living things in the universe are interconnected. They're one. It suggests that every entity in a physical manifestation is of a single source or universal energy. Psychological, it's experienced as intense feelings of closeness, empathy, and belonging. In this state, an individual transcends self-centered boundaries to feel at one with the present moment, nature, and humanity. And relational, it denotes harmony, concord, and the unity of purpose. It describes a bond so strong that people or groups act, feel, or think in unison. So the unseen, the divine, the all that is saying to us, number 3, the Trinity, representing the Trinity, knowing me is knowing you. Oneness. That we are one and the same. So knowing me is knowing you, and obviously vice versa. But it's up-leveling, it's showing us this octave that this is number 4 from the unseen. It's a time of and a time for wisdom. It is our first quote. With great power comes great responsibility. This is the Jupiter-Venus squaring Eris, that conjunction squaring Eris. This time it's number 4, it's foundational. These squares, this energy, Uranus squaring the nodes, the lunar nodes, that's coming up on the 12th. Mercury squaring Saturn. It's a time of and a time for wisdom. With great power comes great responsibility. And that is a quote from Uncle Ben, speaks this quote in the Marvel Comics. So what we're looking at here, and I want to jump into some of the astrology. In doing so, what we're looking at here, all of these squares, right? It's number 5. 5 denotes change. So number 5 from the unseen. Pent up energies find release. Not all towers are bad. This has to do with the Tower card. So in the tarot, the Tower typically denotes, you can see it's quite a scary kind of image, and this is from Brigitte Ashwood at Luminous Tarot. You see the lightning striking the tower, people are jumping out of the tower, the sea is churning at the base. All of this, it's upheaval, it's change, and this is a major arcana card in the tarot. And what the unseen is saying is pent-up energies find release. Not all towers are bad. So tower moments don't have to solely be perceived as negative, or the cosmic 2x4 coming out and whacking you. Yes, when we are not in the flow, and when we're not paying attention, and when we're not listening, you're going to get a tower moment that feels like a cosmic 2x4. However, all of these squares are releasing built-up tension, pent-up energies that must be released. That energy has to be transmuted, shifted. And thus, not all towers are bad. It's that forced growth that we've been talking about, and the forced confessions from last week's show. There are things that are being forced, as above, so below. So the unseen is dictating, they're forcing our hand. Because again, humans are creatures of habit and repetition, and they like what they like, and they don't like change. Well, sometimes that change has to be forced. It's for the betterment of all. That's what they told us last week. So it's for us. We just, and the energies have to be released. So we either flow with them, we're in the flow, or we're not. So now let's take a look. This is from Pam Youngins, astrologer Pam Youngins at North Point Journal. This is an excerpt. Surprising twists. Unexpected twists of fate spiral through this week as unpredictable Uranus squares the karmic north and south nodes of the moon. The nodes of the moon are points in space with great significance. The north node reveals humanity's current course of evolutionary growth. It's where we're going. While the south node indicates the behaviors and attitudes we collectively must rise above if we are to make progress. It's the known, the familiar, what makes us comfortable, what the ego likes. However, it's a been there, done that energy. And so it represents what we are individually and collectively meant to release, to let go of. So if we're to make progress. As radical Uranus squares the nodal axis, we may experience a strong restlessness or rebelliousness. Some may feel an urgent need to speak their truth and to break free of current structures and limitations. Surprising news, Uranus, surprising news could conflict with our preconceived notions and require us to rewrite the story we've been telling ourselves. That's the surrender, the letting go of the ego, mind, personality, the masks, the identities, the labels, the scripts, all that stuff that is ego-driven that can hold us back or down, prevent us from up-leveling. New insights and perspectives challenge us to alter habitual behaviors. Venus, Jupiter, and Eris. The annual rendezvous of Venus, the lesser benefic, and Jupiter, the greater benefic, is generally thought to be a time when we experience optimism, good feelings, and happy relationships. However, when the two benefics align on June 9th, they are also exactly square the dwarf planet Eris. So overly idealistic expectations of the Venus-Jupiter conjunction are not always likely to be realized. In mythology, Eris, the goddess of discord, is the only immortal not invited to a wedding celebration. She's being shunned. In her anger at being ignored, she shows up to the party anyway. However, she has her revenge planned. She tosses a golden apple with the inscription, quote, "to the fairest," into the gathering, and the three goddesses in attendance, Hera, Aphrodite, and Athena, each lay claim to the apple. The rivalry between them begins a sequence of events that ultimately lead to the Trojan War. So you can see how, again, through the square, so Venus and Jupiter, the great benefics and the lesser benefics, are coming together, squaring Eris, the goddess of discord, pardon me, to release tension. She was shunned. She was relegated, left out. And she says, no, no, I will not have that. The divine feminine has been relegated, oppressed, suppressed, left out of the conversation, diminished. And universally, the divine feminine is coming back and saying, no, no, I will not be ignored. I will not be left out. I will speak my truth and reflect my purity, my authenticity. And you will listen. This time around, in the most pure way. It's empowering, yes, in the example, but there's a point here that this is what's on the other side of the mountain, is all the unknown. When we all come into, and this is not just a male, physical male-female body, gender, sexuality issue. We all have divine masculine, divine feminine within us. Where have those energies been in disharmony, imbalance? And how we all collectively, individually, collectively, bring them back into harmony and balance. And thereby, when we up-level the feminine, bring the masculine down, get them in harmony, in service with and to one another, it's a game changer. It's a different world. Lastly, with Pam Young and North Point Journal, the new moon that's coming up on the 14th of June, 15th in Europe, and so forth. We are in the final waning phase of the moon throughout this coming week, leading up to the new moon. The new lunar cycle begins when the sun and moon align at 24 degrees Gemini on Sunday, the 14th of June. The two luminaries are closely sextile, that's a harmonious aspect in astrology, audacious Eris. So we have Venus and Jupiter conjunct squaring Eris, and then coming up, we have the new moon, which is the sun and the moon are together, and they're going to be harmoniously aspecting Eris at the time of the new moon, indicating a greater willingness to take risks, to speak uncomfortable truths, and to advocate for self and for others. We're going to advocate for our healing, our unity, our up-leveling. We're going to advocate for our voices, for the voiceless. And we see this playing out with these different, on the national media, you see how there are those that are being detained in pretty abhorrent conditions. Those on the outside raising their voices in support. It's not about being in support of, breaking the law and so forth. It's being in support of treating your fellow human as a human, humanely. There's nothing that we can't do from a place and state of grace and humanity. We just have to be willing. So whether it's our individual relationships, we can be civil with one another, we can act and still be whole and sovereign, but do so with grace and humility, empowerment, or we can do it with vindication and ugliness and revenge and, the shadow aspects of ourselves. This is true of individual, it's true collectively as a country or as a business. It doesn't matter. We have a choice. And how we choose to do something matters. There's a ripple effect to that. This, number 4, is a time of wisdom, a time for wisdom. With great power comes great responsibility. Remember, we're being expanded, up-leveled. We're going to be in territory we've never been in before. With great power comes great responsibility. The unseen is showing us that it's going to require more of us. It can't be the cheap and easy aspect, the shadow aspect of us. It's the divine aspect of us that's required. Now let's move to Astrology by Lauren. Uranus at the bending of the nodes, and Venus meets Jupiter. She begins with a quote by Elizabeth Gilbert. Everyone who ever changed their life or laid claim to their own destiny began by surrendering to two words, not this. It's okay if you don't know yet what happens next. You just have to be honest about what your deepest truth is telling you. What is your soul guiding you to do? And she says, which is not this. The soul is going to tell you. Remember, there's that not this, not that. It's okay not to know until you know. It will reveal itself. If that's what your body, your heart, and your soul are trying to tell you, listen. If this isn't about forcing energy, forcing an outcome, it is about having the grace, the determination, the perseverance to allow, to align, to go as guided, to say not this until that, it's a knowing that presents itself. That way we're not round peg, square hole, we're not forcing things. So Astrology by Lauren. There are a few interesting transits this coming week to take note of. Perhaps the one to watch most is Uranus at the bending of the nodes, a square 90-degree angle, which perfects on June 12th. That is the same day that Mercury enters the shadow preceding its retrograde phase, which begins on June 29th. During the month of June, Mercury will gradually appear to slow down until it finally comes to a standstill at the end of the month. This has an effect on all things Mercury, communications, commerce, travel, our senses and perceptions. Mercury will be making this gradual and barely perceptible shift over the next month, the month of June, but it is not retrograde yet. However, it is making a conflicting aspect, a square, to Saturn this week. Mercury square Saturn can feel like a mini blockage. It is not a retrograde, however, it could be frustrating for many of the same reasons. This will be an interesting contrast to the Venus-Jupiter conjunction on Tuesday, the 9th of June. This is an expansive, celebratory transit of goodwill, generosity, and joy. With the Sun and Pluto sesquiquadrate, it could feel a bit like we're fiddling around while Rome is burning. But this could also be about attitude and perspective, especially in light of the Uranus square to the true nodes of the moon. Change is afoot, and we may get wind of that this week. Again, things are going to come to light, and then to remember, it's Uranus squaring the nodal axis. It's like plucking the cord, is what the unseen keeps showing me. Is exact on the 12th, but there's a pre and a post arc to it. So change is afoot, and we may get wind of that this week. What may seem like a terrible thing to some could bring reason for celebration to others. There is a Sun-Pluto transit that can be revealing, like a wake-up call. People or situations or things that we've been putting up with and trying to ignore will feel insufferable. And so we begin to look at the idea of change as a good thing. This is how it's forced growth. It's happening for us so that we will see that the change is beneficial. Just want to see here, Colleen is saying, like again, this is speaking to me. Yes, yay! Unlike our planet, Uranus rotates on its side. It is the only planet in our solar system that does that. Like many of the planets in our solar system, including the Earth, Uranus has a magnetic field. However, its magnetic poles are at a wide 60-degree angle from its rotational poles, which creates a very unpredictable and seemingly chaotic atmosphere. This is why Uranus is the higher mind and known expect the unexpected. Uranus, and you'll see here in a minute on the next one I'm coming to, it's plucking, it's squaring, it's plucking that cord of the nodal axis, the choice between the south, what we know, and the north, which is unknown to us. And so one thing we learn with Uranus transits is that just because everyone else is going in a certain direction, it doesn't mean that we should as well. This is about listening to your soul source connection, your soul, and going as guided. It is not about following the crowd. It's about deep humility, authenticity, surrender. Uranus is something of an awakener, often bringing sudden and even shocking revelations in its path that can change the whole picture. It's like nothing else. With Uranus insinuating itself between the nodes, we become aware, perhaps in a number of ways, that the paradigm is shifting and we are not in Kansas anymore. This is not garden variety, every day, every year astrology. This is not yesteryear. It's a complete metamorphosis, paradigm shift. And we're in the throes of it. Niagara Falls, that nearing completion. So we're not in Kansas anymore. We are not who, what, or where we were before. This is what's on the other side of where you've been, of who you are, and where you are in this moment. We often feel like we are at a crossroads when a major planet comes to the bending of the nodes, a crossroad between the past and the future, between an old way of being and a new one that is emerging. And with Uranus and Gemini, a new way of perceiving, seeing, and receiving information is at hand, because Uranus is in Gemini, allowing us to see that we are indeed at a crossroads. In this way, Uranus can be something of a catalyst, pushing, it's a tower, just going to bring that up, here's the tower, pushing us quickly into a new era driven with new ways of perceiving the world, both technically and intellectually. Illuminating, potentially enlightening. We are being shown the advantages of new ideas, new technology, new energy sources, new ways of communicating, seeing, hearing, and connecting. You get the point? It's new, it's unknown to us. Conversely, we are also being shown the things that we have since outgrown, are limiting us and are something of a distraction, preventing us from growing. Uranus wants us to be free, the freedom to be. Only the lonely can play. Unicorn medicine. Uranus striking, it's going to square, it's going to pluck the cords, pluck the cord of the nodal axis. Uranus wants us to be free, to be true to ourselves, to be able to grow beyond our previous limitations and outworn concepts, and to think creatively. There is no shoving us back into the cocoon once we realize that we have wings. For once we emerge from the cocoon, we can fly. On the other side of the rainbow, bluebirds fly. And she concludes, Astrology by Lauren concludes with a quote from Dean Jackson. When she transformed into a butterfly, the caterpillars spoke not of her beauty, but of her weirdness. They wanted her to change back into what she had always been. However, she had wings. See, this is what I was speaking to in the beginning of the show. By up-leveling, by changing, by not following the crowd, by being in the flow with the present energies and the arc of destiny. The caterpillars didn't speak of her beauty, they spoke of her weirdness. Because it's uncomfortable. You're not what I've known before. You're not who I thought you were. You're leaving me behind. You're exceeding and excelling and changing. And yet it creates envy. Well, I want that too. You're whole and sovereign. Then you must rise and find your center too. To become what's on offer. It's on offer for all of us. And it is a moment, a time of and for wisdom. These pent-up energies are being released. Number 6 from the unseen, Spirit and Service. 6, they said, harsh understandings bring clarity, ... truth. And this has to do with Mercury squaring Saturn. So harsh understandings bring clarity, they bring truth. And they said, now you see it, now you see me, now you don't. And that's an expression for anything that vanishes unexpectedly. We've got Uranus in the mix. We've got Mercury squaring Saturn. So how we think and communicate and so forth. And how, with the great teacher, harsh truths, harsh understanding. It's harsh, but it brings clarity. It reveals truth. And so, and now you see me, now you don't. It can mean that things vanish because they're being illuminated. Truth evaporates resistance. It's just gone. The truth purifies everything. clarity purifies. So the resistance, the pent-up tension, it gets released. So harsh understandings bring clarity, truth. Now you see me, now you don't. And lastly, I want to go to, we have a couple more things. Sorry. Astrobutterfly.com. Uranus square the lunar nodes, the skipped step. And I just want to share quickly, Uranus squaring the nodal axis. If you have access to you need your date, time, place of birth. You can go online and create your natal chart for free. It's the snapshot of the planets at the time you were born. The North Node is in Pisces, South Node is in Virgo currently, Uranus is in Gemini. Look at your natal chart and see what house is Pisces in your chart. That's going to be the North Node. And then look up and see what that house represents. Likewise, where is Virgo? What house is Virgo in your chart? There's 12 houses. It's going to tell you the South Node. What does that house represent? That's going to tell you what's familial to you, familiar, comfortable, and what you're meant to release or move beyond. And then look to see where is Gemini. What house is Gemini in your chart? That's where Uranus is. That's going to be the house, and see what that house represents. And that is going to be how the unexpected, expect the unexpected, is going to trigger this choice, this up-leveling, this higher octave. Because the choice is the North Node, it's unknown. It will be unknown to you. The Uranus, it will come out of nowhere, out of the blue, unexpectedly. That will shift you. And the choice, the decision, the tower, the choice is, am I going to remain small, meaning the caterpillar? We all have the opportunity to become the butterfly, North Node. So the choice is, do I remain the caterpillar? Do I go back? Oh, it's safer. It's easier to be a caterpillar. I know it. It's comfortable. I don't know what it's like to be a butterfly. That's on the other side. I've never done that. I've never left the ground. I don't know how to fly. However, in that metamorphosis, caterpillar to butterfly, it's one and the same, nearing completion. Within the ending, the caterpillar, is the beginning, the butterfly. It's cohesive. It's all one. It continues. We already know how to fly. We just have to be willing to say yes to flying, yes to releasing the past, yes to moving beyond into the unknown, to receive that experience, the joys of it, the up-leveling of it. Astrobutterfly.com. So, when a planet is square the nodal axis, which means it is simultaneously square both the North Node and the South Node, astrologers call it a skipped step. The skipped step is usually understood as unresolved, pent up, unresolved developmental material from the past that needs to be addressed before a person can fully move forward. This can be past lives stuff. This can be past in this incarnation experiences, residue, goo. Unresolved here is not to be confused with feeling stuck. Instead, it points to a dynamic where the conflict of the nodal opposition gets resolved. The North and the South Node are opposite each other. So there's a nodal opposition, and it gets resolved through an outlet, the planet squaring it. Just like in a T-square, we can look at the planet that squares the nodes as the outside catalyst that resolves the tension of the opposition. In this case, it's Uranus, higher mind, expect the unexpected, the tower. So in a T-square or a skipped step type of dynamic, the planet that squares the opposition axis acts as the catalyst that makes things happen. And she puts in parentheses, like for real in the 3D world. This isn't theoretical, it's literal. As above, so below. It's like a fuse that suddenly goes off, and the tension of the opposition is finally addressed. Perhaps the easiest way to understand a skipped step is through an actual skipped step. When you skip a step and stumble upon something, the script gets interrupted. The skipped step, not as something you've missed, but literally as what happens when something occurs on the outside, the square, that resolves the problem of the opposition. Meaning this isn't something that we do, it's something that comes in out of nowhere that interrupts the plan. It's that beautiful quote, life happens while you're planning. It's that aspect that comes in out of nowhere that acts as a skipped step. Like if you trip, you stub your toe, it's not part of what you were planning. You're walking, but that tripping, that skipped step changes the trajectory of what's going on. So astrobutterfly.com, the skipped step and Snow White. And this takes us to the Snow White fairy tale. Snow White grows up under the shadow of a jealous stepmother, the queen. Unable to reconcile with the passing of her own beauty, the queen poisons Snow White with an apple, sending her into a death-like sleep. When we look at it through the lens of the lunar nodes, the poisoned apple becomes the generational heritage that someone is born into. This is past life stuff. We all have a north node and a south node. This is the one aspect, the one opposition, that regardless of the rest of the natal chart, your birth chart, everyone is born with. So what astrobutterfly.com is saying is, when you look at your natal astrological chart, you can have other planets in opposition. That may happen. But guaranteed, every single soul on the planet, the one opposition, because you could have no other oppositions, but you will have the north node, south node axis opposition. Every chart has it. Why? Because we come into this life, past residues, things that we want, karma, we want to address, to let go of, transmute, purify. And we have the benefit of the north node saying, and see, this is where you may go. You do this work, you release these things, transmute this is where you're going. And they are in opposition to one because we have to release the south to receive the north. It's just the way it is. So we have this aspect, it's the one, regardless of the rest of the natal chart, everyone is born with. We are all born into some sort of story, heritage, or unprocessed material, the south node, which exists in polarity with our north node, a symbol of future directions and possibilities. The past and the future are continuously renegotiated. But unless a planet comes to activate this axis, plucks the cord, squares it, nothing happens. Uranus square the lunar nodes, the skipped step. When Uranus squares the nodes, something will happen. It might come as an accident, an unforeseen circumstance, a coincidence, or an unexpected development that somehow changes the trajectory of the story. In Snow White, one of the prince's servants skips a step while carrying Snow White's coffin. The jolt causes the piece of poisoned apple lodged in Snow White's throat to be expelled. The poison leaves her body, she comes to life, the spell is broken. This was not something that Snow White, the prince, or anyone else in the story, quote, did. It was not some sort of reward for hard work. It was an accident, a skipped step, an interruption of the script. The servant literally skipped a step, and the problem of the nodal axis got resolved. The tension, the pent-up energies and the tension find release. The skipped step is not the problem, it's the solution. Uranus square the nodes is the catalyst that interrupts the looping narrative, and in doing so, frees it, the freedom to be. Only the lonely can play. When Uranus squaring the nodal axis, with Uranus squaring the nodal axis, nothing, quote, causes the awakening in a linear sense. Instead, there is a sudden disruption of the existing situation. Something comes in, it's an unexpected event, a break in the pattern. When we look back at our lives, many of our most life-changing moments were not planned or, quote, worked through. They happened by chance or by what later felt like mysterious pulls of fate. And while this transit may not require us to, quote, do more, it does require recognition, acknowledgement, awareness. What first appears as an interruption may in fact be the thing that resolves a tension that could not otherwise be resolved. Sometimes the solution to an either or is not to take another step. Sometimes the solution is to skip a step. It's to allow the unseen, Uranus squaring, plucking the cord, all of these squares, this pent-up tension, to be released. Unforeseen events come in, happen, and completely alter our trajectory, individually, collectively. One could look at the world stage and say, oh, it looks like we're going this direction. Uranus, bong, plucking the cords, and says, no, not this, not that. Boom. And this skipped step alters everything, changes the course of history, changes the course for the people involved, alters our reality, shifts it into alignment with the new, the higher octave. Our mantra is, a greater fire lies within. And this is the fire that I was talking about earlier in the show. A greater fire lies within represents an inner divine spark or the power of the Holy Spirit. It signifies a spiritual awakening, urging you to look past your ego, burn away limiting fears, and embrace the divine inspiration, deep motivation, and inner strength driving your life's purpose. In many traditions, fire symbolizes the divine's permanent dwelling within you, much like the tongues of fire at Pentecost. It acts as an internal compass and a source of continuous warmth and protection. The fire functions as an internal refiner, a purifier. It consumes pain, doubt, and negative habits, clearing the way for your true, authentic spiritual purpose. This is not about becoming the lesson. This is not about, allowing our experiences to define us. This is about purification, the burning away, so that what's left is the wisdom, the pearls, the gifts, the truth. And lastly, this greater fire provides strength beyond your natural human limits. It gives you the passion needed. So this is what I was speaking about with Kiki when she was speaking about, trying to enjoy the downhill. It's this fire, the Holy Spirit, the fire. This greater fire provides strength beyond your natural human limits. It gives you the passion needed to face cynicism, overcome struggles, and serve others to align with this new higher octave. Last but not least, as we close out the show, it's number 7 from the Unseen. We had this again, the lyrics from U2. And what I heard was, but I still haven't found what I'm looking for. And in the song, it's about U2. I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For is the second single taken from U2's 1987 album, The Joshua Tree. It's written in the writing style of King David, specifically from the poems recorded in the Book of Psalms in the Old Testament. The lyricism also emulates Charles Bukowski's poetry, who Bono was reading at the time. The subject Bono is searching for is left without description. He doesn't tell us what he's pursuing, just that he is searching with a single-minded focus and great longing. This section is written in a nearly identical style to the writings of David. This is about we've been focused, longing for, focused, single-minded focus, climbing the mountain, receiving this unity and wholeness, this love, this purity, this joy, this euphoria. But I still haven't found what I'm looking for. What happens when all of your dreams come true? Then what? What's on the other side of where you are, who you are, and where you've been? The South Node. It's unknown to us. What's on the other side? On the other side of the rainbow, blue birds fly. Everything we're looking for is on the other side of where we've been. It's the North Node. It's Venus and Jupiter coming together. They're squaring ERIS to release all of this pent-up goo surrounding the divine feminine that we hold internally. There's a myriad of ways that is manifesting. One of the greatest ones is the fear. It's manifesting in a whole other derogatory, nasty way. At the root of that is the fear of the divine feminine, the power and empowerment of the divine feminine. The divine feminine represents knowing, intuition, the divine aspect of ourselves. What this is saying to us is that we fear our own divinity. And so we choose to play it small, keep it safe, take the lesser path, lay in the mud, because that's easier than up-leveling to your divine nature, your divine self. What's at your center? There are many allusions in the later stanzas, Christian and romantic, sensual, and in the last stanza, a declaration of the narrator's worldview and personal beliefs. However, he also tells his audience that he has not yet reached his destination and is still looking to be with, quote, the you he mentions in the beginning of the song. Knowing me is knowing you. Oneness. Powerful, powerful, powerful energies, pent-up energies that are being released, shifted, transmuted. And we have this beautiful opportunity to literally embrace, caterpillar to butterfly, become what is inherent and has always been there. We just have to face our fears, let go of the past, up-level, and receive this unknown North Node opportunity, growth, expansion. How we get there? Uranus, unexpected events, unexpected quantum leaps that force the growth, because that's what's happening with the unseen, the divine. The master weaver, the host, is in charge. We're the guests. So look forward to seeing you all. Thank you for your presence, your comments, your energy. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow. It helps the channel and the show. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Be well.
You've been listening to Dearjames Live. Gain intuitive insight, answers, and advice to your life questions and so much more by tuning in next week and visiting Dearjames.com.